A lot of people say I didn't have defense, I just come forward. Yeah, I do come forward, but I have a lot of defense. I have a lot of tricks up my sleeve too.
The long guard is a powerful defensive system, but like everything in boxing, it can be countered. In today's video, I'm going to show you how. Specifically, we're going to look at 6 techniques David Benavidez used to break down Caleb Plant's long guard en route to a dominant decision victory. This is not an exhaustive list, but it's a decent intro package that will help you deal with the long guard today, while also laying the foundation for more advanced techniques down the line. Let's dive right in. Number 1. Wage a cold war. Fake engagement and force the long guard to work. Compared to the low or closed guard positions, where the arms hang loose or get supported by the torso, respectively, the long guard is more taxing to use. Not only must you hold the arms out in front of you, you must also keep them active, creating feints, traffic, and traps to stymie the opponent's punch output. We can mitigate these extra energy demands by mixing the long guard sparingly into our flow of feints, guard changes, punches, and head movement. But this is still a major drawback of the long guard, and it's one we can exploit by launching a cold war. So what does that mean exactly? When I say wage a cold war, what I mean is to create a state of hostility characterized by threats that stop short of open warfare, at least for now. By posturing like you want to engage but never actually committing to an exchange, you force long guard fighters to work while you stay loose and relaxed. You may need to feint or prod at their lead hand to keep them engaged, but it's often enough to just circle in range, stepping off their center line so they're forced to either abandon the long guard or turn the whole structure to face you. The key here is energy efficiency. Your goal is to keep their long guard up and active while you do as little as possible. If you're working harder than they are, you're doing it wrong. If you train opposite stance, it can sometimes be useful to switch to fake engagements like this. I don't like fighting from southpaw, but I do like pretending to fight from southpaw. Switching puts my strong hand forward and closer to my opponent's, which gives me an edge in the hand fight, and I have the option to step back into my normal stance whenever I need to give ground in a hurry. But whether you choose to go southpaw or stay orthodox, you should be faking engagement or waging cold wars like this a lot. Basically, anytime you're not actively applying one of the more committed long guard counters we've got coming up. Doing so will allow you to rest and deny your opponent rest between efforts, while also laying the foundation for some high reward feint setups later on. Number 2. Feint for space. Use credible threats to keep your opponent honest and deny them lane control. When your opponent extends their hands to crowd your space, control punch lanes, and trap your gloves, the threat of a good hard feint can often get you a little breathing room. Even if the opponent keeps the pressure on, your feint will probably draw a reaction, and whether that reaction is to move the hands, feet, or head to address the punch you sold them, you'll have moved the furniture, in the words of Teddy Atlas, and forced them to spend more energy than it cost you to feint. In some cases, you may be able to feint their hands right out of position and clear the way for your follow-up attack. If you don't get a reaction, you may need to move away or transition to another of the counter techniques shared here to avoid running afoul of their long guard. But remember their reaction, or lack thereof, for next time. Now you know you can make a move without drawing a response. If the feint they ignored happened to be the opening mechanics of a punch, try following through next time. You might even land something. Remember, the long guard is about incremental oppression. The further you allow their hands to move into your space unchecked, the harder they'll be to deal with. So feint hard, feint often, and feint early before they get comfortable and take control of no man's land. Number 3. Parry the lead hand. As scary as the lead hand can seem when facing the long guard, it can often be dealt with using basic parries you probably already know. And since the opponent is floating the hand out towards you rather than throwing it at full speed, it's much easier to time your parries with either hand. Parrying disables the opponent's lead hand for a split second, taking their main long guard tools offline. You can use either hand in any type of parry, be it a lift, push, or drop, but I prefer down parries, as they force the opponent to do a small lat raise against gravity and momentum to recover their guard. In a long, grueling fight where every bit of energy counts, these reps can really add up. Rear-handed parries are usually safer, since they leave your lead hand free to deal with the cross, which is something we discussed in this video on defensive pairs. But you should still train both. Whichever hand you use, parries will be easier to pull off in your space, as you'll be stronger with your elbows close to your body than your opponent will be with their arms stretched out and reaching. The drawback is that you have to let their hand get close to your guard in the first place, which we usually want to avoid since it's what they need to blind trap, pry, control, frame, and break posture. In contrast, meeting the hand out in no man's land, the space between you and your opponent, is a bit safer, but it makes the parry harder to pull off. You deny them easy access to long guard tools, but you also put yourself into an even 50-50 hand fighting situation with equal leverage, so your success depends more on timing and good hand position. To give yourself an edge when attempting these kinds of long parries, try to hold your hand higher than theirs and go for a down parry to get gravity on your side. When using the rear hand, you can follow up with the same side punch over the top if you keep the parry all arm and leave your hips and torso in the loaded position. You can also turn the shoulders with the parry to load a leaping hook, power jab, or uppercut. When using the lead hand to parry, you can follow up with any of your favorite rear-handed punches and keep your hand on theirs to hold the door open for your attack. Of course, you don't have to and shouldn't always follow up with punches. Simply parrying down the lead hand is physically and mentally taxing, and it can frustrate long guard fighters to the point where they either abandon the position or rush in to make something happen. Number 4, punch the lead hand. Like aggressive parrying, punching the lead hand away will take your opponent's long guard tools offline for a split second, create openings for attacks, and force them to spend energy recovering the position. Sometimes it hurts too. Punching the opponent's lead hand away should be fairly easy since it's already moving into your space, and a good long guard fighter will be moving it to intercept your punches anyways. Don't worry about hitting with full power, just give it a good smack, enough to swat it away using good punch mechanics, but not enough to get you in trouble for missing. No big commitments, no weight shifts, and no reaching. This low commitment approach to punching will allow you to double up or defend on that side as needed. Attacking any openings you create is easy and intuitive. Jab, hook, or uppercut the lead hand away and follow it up in combination as normal. Of course, you don't have to follow up again. Simply punching their hand away has value, as it disables their long guard tools, puts the opponent on the defensive, and forces them to work extra to regain the position. Number 5, attack the backhand. It's easy to get caught up worrying about how to deal with the lead hand, but don't forget about the backhand. This is the opponent's primary weapon after all. A good long guard fighter will usually hold the backhand slightly forward to cover your jab lane. If they don't, you might be able to sneak quick jabs down the pipe and punish their poor defense. This avenue is always worth exploring. Some long guard fighters rely too heavily on the lead hand for defense, and as a result, their rear hand defenses get underused and underdeveloped. But we can also exploit good defense. Even if there's no opening for your jab, you can effectively disarm their primary weapon by punching into their backhand. At the moment of impact, with their rear hand occupied and their lead hand extended, too close to generate big power on a punch, you're pretty much safe to close the gap, punch, disengage, or take a new position. Attacking the rear hand also sets up even more lead hand parries while retracting the punch. For example, you can punch the backhand and pull the front one down on your way back. Simple, effective, and nasty. Finally, number 6, work the body. Obviously, the long guard position does not really cover the body, but it's not as open as you think, as good long guard fighters are ready to disengage, control the head, or drop their extended arm down on your body attacks, and reading those attacks is easier because they're expecting you to go low. But while you shouldn't expect to surprise a good long guard fighter with a basic body attack, targeting the body still pays dividends. First, beating up the body is a good way to lower a long guard fighter's activity level, especially later on in long fights. This is true of all fighters, but long guard fighters especially, since the position requires a bit more core strength with the arms working so far out in front of you. Second, working the body moves the furniture a lot, and in the case of the long guard, the furniture is f***ing big. Long guard parries and blocks involve the whole arm, glove, forearm, upper arm, shoulder, and these movements are done out in space in front of you with no support, whereas close guard blocks and adjustments are relatively small and low effort, and the guard structure is fully supported. In terms of moving furniture, closed guard blocks are like moving folding chairs. Long guard blocks are like moving pianos. The more you mix in body attacks, the more you force their long guard to move up and down, and the more energy they're going to burn. Third, working the body makes your feint game better, so that you pose a real threat anytime you change levels. This will help you sell fake attacks and mask real ones. Later in the fight, after a committed body attack, all your level changes will start to look like body shots to a panicky opponent, and that'll help you set something up to the head. The body jab is a fine weapon against the long guard. It attacks an obvious opening, it forces the opponent to change levels with their defense, it's fast, and it hurts, so it demands respect. It's also pretty safe to throw, as it moves your head towards the back hip, where the opponent will find it hard to reach, and your backhand will be loaded to follow up. Also, if you send it towards their back elbow, you can effectively occupy and shut down their backhand, like we mentioned earlier. For these reasons, I suggest you look for opportunities to stab the body whenever the opponent takes a long guard position. What about the backhand? By now, you already know the best way to set those punches up. Busy the opponent's lead hand and attack the opening. You can use a feint, a parry, a punch, or even a bit of patty cake, and as you engage their lead hand up high, you go low and attack the opening on that side. If you land, great. If not, you'll still have moved the furniture and created a credible threat you can use to set up a feint down the line. That's all for now. Not an exhaustive list of long guard counters, but a good start. These tactics played a key part in Benavidez's strategy against Caleb Plant, and they can be applied against anyone who likes to fight with the hand out. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, stay safe, study hard, and train smart.